Greetings everyone, this is Devesh Kirubhakaran.J who's here with another lecture session on the play titled Top Girls written by Caryl Churchill. Let's get started. Introducing the play. So this play was written by the British playwright Caryl Churchill in 1982, who's known as a famous living playwright from the British, which work deals with the issues of extreme feminism and the ideal feminism needed, the eco-feminist standpoint. Cloud 9, 1979, Blue Heart, 1997, etc. are some of our other famous plays. So her plays are known to express deeper themes, disturbing. It needs a lot of critical thinking and creative thinking. It's just not an easy to read play. You need a lot of analytical viewpoints. You will get disturbed. You won't understand anything while reading the play. You need to reread. You need to recollect, etc. So let's move on. Feminism. So it's the major theme. She's a feminist playwright, of course. This is the major theme in this play too, which explores the dichotomies, Marlene and Joyce, how the extreme rough and the extreme submissive women lead their lives, which both are equally wrong, and how a balance should be made is explained through the play. Then, success. So we are seeing two kinds of success here through Marlene and Joyce, as explained. Capitalistic success by Marlene, without any care for familial ties or human beings, and the traditional success, without progressing in life, just following the rules established by the society, like Joyce, the mother of Angie. And then, corruption. Corruption is another prevalent theme where women are corrupt, as seen through Marlene's subordinates, who exploit the chances which they receive to benefit their own selves, who try to hide so many of aspects of their lives. Like in a scene, we see Marlene advising Gianine to hide her age and marital status to advance in career, rather than embracing their own status, their own individuality, their own truth, and then fighting for their upliftment. They just try to hide it, which is not a positive sort of growth or liberation. Motherhood. Then, motherhood is the worst damaged theme in this play, since it's in its worst form. Marlene abandons Angie, her daughter, and she aborts many children in pursuit of a career, successful career. And she even refuses to accept Angie as a daughter. And once the final part of the play, she refuses again for the second time when Angie asks her mum. Marlene says that, "Have you been in a bad dream? I'm your Aunt Marlene." And Angie says it's frightening, since she has a conversation with Kit in between, that she expects or suspects that Marlene is the real mother. Women and patriarchy. And even that sort of a realization comes because of the inborn inherent tie between a mother and a child, which is implied in the play. Then, women and patriarchy. So we are able to see how women and patriarchy live together. Women struggle to establish themselves in the society, where we see that Forward, who's a rival for the managing director position along with Marlene, who is astonished and suffers an heart attack. I think it's made up or hooked up by Mrs. Kidd, his wife, stating that it is such a shock for him to work under a woman. He feels ashamed, and even that lady asks Marlene to step down, which Marlene comfortably refuses, which is a brilliant decision. But still, we are dealing with the patriarchal theme, where women were expected to be subservient to men, and a man working for a woman is considered something undesired and very humiliating sort of work. Then, capitalistic success. Then we are able to see how a capitalistic sort of a success is much sought after, where the financial accomplishment is given the complete weightage, with the holistic achievement at the gutter, in the gutter, as seen through the characters Win Nell, who have sort of an affair for financial status, and then how they exploit each other in the office hours, and how they just casually deal with all sort of unusual habits, and Marlene, who gets frequently drunk, and they work hard towards success at the sake of familial ties. So there's not a balance. So they just want to somehow, by exploiting, by corruption, they want to succeed in life, even though they are subjugated. The playwright asks to avoid this sort of a feminism. Then surrealism. So in the very beginning of the play, we find this dinner party with the people from different times, the women from different times. Isabella, a 19th century traveler, European traveler. Griselda, the faithful and obedient wife in Chaucer's Canterbury Tales. Brett from a painting. Pope Joan, who as a woman disguised herself as a pope and delivered baby on the road. She didn't even know that she was pregnant, impregnated by a fellow clergyman who knew of her feminine status. Then Nijo, a Chinese courtesan, married off to a Chinese emperor who gets thrown out after losing favor in his eyes. And there was even a very cruel festival of beating women in their private parts. And Griselda, she had to be faithful to the Prince Walter, who hides her children, and in the sort of testing of faith, arranges another marriage, etc. And she sends her children. And how women were completely exploited throughout history is being represented through this surrealistic dinner party. How women throughout history have suffered and endured all the backlogs, all the exploitation which was inflicted upon them. Then critical engagement, as I have said, Caryl Churchill's plays can never be understood if it is read casually or for luxury, for entertainment. So it needs deeper critical thinking with much interest. Definitely her plays are very interesting, where we are guided to ponder over for a better version of feminism, which does not make women move away from being human beings. That's what she wants, a balance. Then conclusion. So the entire play explicates the struggles of women throughout history, of how they were treated in the society with the pre-established norms, gender bias, etc., and the issues with extreme feminism, and also the feminism which is submissive. So she asks for a balanced feminism, eco-feministic standpoint, where men and women are equal to each other with no one being subservient. Then moving on to significant lines from the play. But of course he knew I was a woman, is said by Pope Joan. That God knows that she's a woman. It's a confession. It's where I most want to be in the world, is said by Angie. That the familial tie, the bonding, the inherent bonding between her real mother, Marlene, who is sitting in my chair, is said by the subordinate of Marlene. I never consider people's feelings, is said by a woman who is being interviewed, Shona, I suppose. Frightening, is said by Angie towards the end of the revelation that Marlene still wants to pretend that she's her aunt. She doesn't want to take any responsibility towards Angie. What's it going to do him working as for a woman, is said by Mrs. Kidd. That no man can work for a woman, the patriarchal mindset, the regressive one. If they're stupid, lazy, or frightened, I'm not going to help them, is said by Marlene, stating that how she justifies and how she doesn't want to really help people, and she just wants to move up in life through selfish motives. We come to hell through a big mouth, is said by one of the characters in the dinner party. That they enter hell by the big mouth of men who are being swallowed constantly throughout history, because nothing's changed and it won't with them in So Marlene finds that these traditional people will never allow change to occur in the society. I think the 80s are going to be stupendous. So this is the 1980s. So Marlene expects for a brighter, better future. So we see Angie as a product of both the extreme feministic sides, and she's a victim of it, who suffers, who becomes disillusioned of life, and then so to summarize the play, introducing the play, how it deals with extreme issues with extreme feminism and the need to have an eco-feministic stand. Then feminism, the major theme, like in all of our plays, the dichotomies with Marlene and Joyce, how capitalistic and traditional success are being contrasted, the corruption which exists in this extreme feministic viewpoint, where chances are exploited, and the motherhood at its worst extreme, where it's completely the feministic quality is completely ignored. Women and patriarchy have women suffered and suffering in the in a patriarchal society, and the capitalistic success which has been weighed and given importance with the holistic success at bay. Then surrealism, the dinner party, the use of the impossible to explain the possible. Then the critical engagement which is needed to study Caryl Churchill's plays, and concluding with the eco-feministics and the need for a new feminism, new sort of feminism, pseudo-feminism, which is also another term which could be used to describe this sort of a new feminism. So thank you. I hope I have added something to the understanding of this play. Kindly do like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel. See you in the next lecture session. Thank you.